Before England wore crowns of stone and echoed with cathedral bells, it was a land of mist and meadow, a place of quiet prayer and steady plough. Thatched cottages lined the ridges of green hills, and the people, clad in linen and humility, rose with the dawn, tended sheep, sowed barley, and sang psalms by candlelight. The year was 1066. In winter's breath, the old king, Edward the Confessor, lay fading. His reign had been long and quiet, marked more by faith than force. But beneath the stillness, the land trembled. For in a world bound to blood and oaths, the absence of an heir was not peace. It was a gathering storm. Harold Godwinson, son of a powerful house, did not hunger for a crown, but fate rarely waits for those unsure. The Witenagemot, England's council of wise men, raised him as king. His hands still smelled of sword oil and salt air, a man of the earth, not divine right. The people welcomed him. In taverns they lifted cups of mead. In churches they whispered prayers for his reign. But across the waters, 3 winds stirred, each bearing a man who saw England not as home, but as prize. Harold stood atop a fragile throne, unaware that his name would be remembered not for peace, but for the last stand of a dying age. In Normandy, across the narrow sea, a different kind of king plotted. William, Duke of Normandy, called the Bastard for his birth and the Conqueror yet to come. He had been promised the English crown, or so he claimed, by Edward and by Harold too, who once swore fealty upon sacred relics. True or false, William believed it with the fury of a crusader. He was a man who built his fate like a castle, stone by stone, blood by blood. In his hall at Caen, under the flicker of torchlight, he gathered knights, priests, and papal blessing. England was not just land, it was a holy mission. From the fjords of Norway came another claimant, wrapped in snow and saga. Harold Hardrada, the hard ruler, was forged in the east, a warrior poet, tall as a tree and twice as unyielding. His claim was thin, a thread of old agreements, but his spirit did not ask permission. With him rode Tostig, Harold's bitter brother, banished and burning with betrayal. Together they sailed toward England, their longships gliding like dark swans across the northern waters. Behind them, thunder. Before them, smoke. In the south, Harold waited. His feared, the common folk called to arms, camped along the coast. The Channel watched silently. Day after day, wind from the north held William's ships at bay. The people returned to their fields. Harvest could not wait for war, and so, reluctantly, the king disbanded his watch. But in September, as apples ripened on the branch, sails appeared, not Norman, but Norse. The storm had come, but not from the direction expected. In York's damp air, the Norwegians struck. At Fulford Gate, they met England's northern earls. The earth drank deeply. By day's end, the city bent its knee to Hardrada. Fires lit the twilight, and the sky grew thick with ash and omen. When the message reached Harold, he did not hesitate. Gathering his housecarls, his oath-bound warriors, he rode north. 200 miles in 4 days, over muddy track and under weary stars. The fields blurred past. The fate of the realm awaited. Stamford Bridge, September 25th. The Vikings lounged, expecting tribute. Instead, they saw helmets glinting in morning sun. Harold's army, unbroken, charged like a tide. The battle was brutal, the kind where breath is lost before words. One Norseman held the bridge alone, his axe humming death until struck from beneath. Hardrada died with a song in his throat. Tostig fell beside him. When the fighting stopped, only 24 ships were needed to carry the survivors home. The Viking Age in England was over, its last breath silenced in a harvest field. Harold's men, bloodied but alive, barely rested. A rider came, his voice hoarse from the road. "The Normans have landed." On September 28th, William's fleet reached Pevensey. Already, he built castles and burned villages, Harold's own lands, his ancestral roots. The king turned south again, no time to gather reinforcements, no time to wait. He rode not as conqueror, but as protector, and perhaps, unknowingly, as sacrifice. October 14th. Senlac Hill, a gentle ridge surrounded by forests and whispers. Here, the old world would make its stand. Harold formed his shield wall, men of iron and loyalty standing shoulder to shoulder, forming a fortress of flesh and faith. Behind them, banners flapped in the chill wind. Ahead, William's army gleamed, archers, infantry, cavalry, a war machine. The sun climbed slowly, as if reluctant to witness what was to come. The Normans struck first, arrows loosed like black birds. But the Saxons stood. Infantry surged uphill and were thrown back. Then came the knights, horses pounding like drums of doom. But still, the wall held. Harold's housecarls swung their great axes, felling men and mounts alike. The battle seesawed hour upon hour. The air grew thick with dust and groans. Blood turned soil to clay, but no side broke. Then, a turning point, a Norman flank feigned retreat. Eager Saxons chased, the shield wall opened. William turned the trap, his knights circled back, and the pursuers were slain. Again, he repeated the trick. Each time, more English followed, and each time, fewer returned. The wall was bleeding, its soul leaking into the grass. Evening neared. The sky turned to fire. Then came the arrow, silent, sudden, striking Harold perhaps in the eye, perhaps elsewhere. Accounts vary. But his death was certain. A king fell, and with him 1,000 years of Anglo-Saxon rhythm. The wall collapsed. The hill groaned beneath fleeing feet. England as it was ended. William marched toward London, but not with joy. Resistance lingered. The countryside smoldered. On Christmas Day, inside Edward's own abbey, he was crowned king. Outside, a misheard cheer sparked Norman panic. Fires were lit, houses burned. The first moment of Norman rule was born in confusion and flame. William ruled not just by sword, but by parchment. He crushed uprisings with merciless resolve, none more infamous than the harrying of the North, where villages vanished under fire and famine. But he also built over 80 castles, a new aristocracy. And in 1085, the Domesday Book, an inventory so complete it was said to rival the final judgment. England was now mapped, measured, and made anew. French became the tongue of law and court. Old English, the language of Beowulf and the ploughman, survived only among the common folk. Yet over time, the two mingled. Words married: justice, jury, beef, pork, sovereign, servant. From this union, Middle English was born, a language that would one day birth Shakespeare, Dickens, and the global voice we speak today. Today, if you visit Battle Abbey, you can stand where Harold fell, walk the quiet ridge, or travel to Bayeux and gaze at a tapestry nearly 70 meters long, embroidered echoes of war, faith, and fate. In Westminster Abbey, where kings still kneel, you'll find the ghost of that first fire-crowned coronation. These are not relics, they are memory-made stone. For the English people, change came slowly. Fields still needed sowing. Songs still filled the hearth. But the lords were new, the taxes steeper. Castles loomed where forests once whispered. Yet life endured. Families loved, laughed, and prayed. The land did not forget its rhythm, it simply shifted. The conquest did not end England, it reshaped it. A new system rose, feudal, fortified, French-speaking. But the spirit of the Isle, its longing for justice, its love of story, its stubborn heart, endured. From this crucible emerged not submission, but synthesis, a New England, stronger, stranger, lasting. If Harold had won, perhaps England would have turned northward, remaining Germanic in tongue, untethered from continental politics. No Plantagenets, no empire, no English Renaissance, that single arrow, that hill, that dusk, these were the fulcrum of fate. History does not weep, but it remembers. If this journey through 1066 moved you, if you felt the clash of steel, the silence after loss, the flicker of hope in language reborn, then join us. Subscribe to this channel for more stories where past and present walk hand in hand. Share your thoughts below. What if Harold had won? And where should we travel next?